Hi, I'm Larry Willis, and my brother and I, John Dale, have been manufacturing polytetrafluoroethylene since 1976. We actually started in my mother's garage. We sold our PTFE in more than 100 countries around the world. PTFE is unique three ways. It's chemically inert, it is the slippriest solid substance known to man, and when you increase pressure, you decrease friction. That's very unique. The way to sell PTFE is as a substitute wear material. For example, Bob Sikorsky tells us that when you first crank your car, Bob Sikorsky was the columnist for the New York Times for more than 20 years. And he did a test associated with Boeing that said that at the crank of a car, when you first crank your car, it's the equivalent of driving your car 500 miles. PTFE, which is 7 times slipperier than traditional motor oil, even though it's a dry substance, is fused into the metal surfaces of your motor, so that when you crank the vehicle, you will usually reduce cold cranking starts, the cold cranking amps, by in the 10% neighborhood. Now that does several things. It preserves the life of your starter and your battery, because your vehicle is cranking so much easier, especially in cold weather, where again and again we find that people can't get their car to crank in that freezing temperatures. With polytetrafluoroethylene, because you've reduced the cold cranking energy necessary to crank that car by about 10%, that to a great degree has been eliminated. So not only will it decrease cold cranking amps at start, PTFE also will reduce wear dramatically. And the rings, for example, if you do spectrometric oil analysis, you will frequently find in the rings around your pistons, you'll find that the wear reduction is up to 90% frequently. In other parts, in the bearing surfaces, it usually will run from 30 to 90% in spectrometric oil analysis, showing reduction in wear after the introduction of PTFE in your vehicle. Also, if you do a horsepower test with a dynamometer, we've done literally thousands of horsepower tests. We used to have our own dyno in-house so that we could do dynos before and after. You'll usually pick up 1.5, 2 horsepower once you treat an engine. And one other thing that's so important, especially with vehicles as they begin to get a little older, if you've got a vehicle that's got 40, 50, 60,000 miles or more, of course, compression begins to wane as you get more mileage on that vehicle. When you treat your vehicle with polytetrafluoroethylene, PTFE, true brand product, you will increase compression. It's as easy as taking a compression gauge and doing a compression before and after treatment. Simply do the compression test, and then about 200 miles later do it after, and you'll get a compression increase in nearly every cylinder, almost 100% of the time. Our product is also chemically inert. Remember, PTFE is chemically inert. We've literally done demonstrations where we take small 4-cylinder engines, and one treated and one non-treated. We take them out of the vehicle or off a engine stand and drain the oil out of them and put them down in an 800-gallon vat with salt water. The water is always being blended. And the salt water, of course, leave it for 3 days, take it out, and the non-treated motor is basically a boat anchor. You have to beat the pistons out with a hammer. But the treated motor, we have literally taken and put it back on the test stand, put oil back in it, and crank it up, and it will still run. That is amazing, but that's the chemical inertness of the polytetrafluoroethylene. As a demonstration, you might liken PTFE as a substitute wear material if you put pressure, and you use your hands as an illustration. As you put pressure, you can hear and you can feel the friction. As you press harder, you can't move your hands as fast, but the heat inside your hands becomes much, much warmer, and thus you've increased friction. And that's what happens inside your vehicle. If you start up a hill, if you're pulling a trailer, then you're increasing stress. With polytetrafluoroethylene, remember, the greater the pressure, the less the friction. And so when you put your, let's use this paper as a substitute wear material, when you first crank your car in the morning, the wear does not come on your engine, it comes on the substitute wear material that's fused inside the motor. And when you increase stress, it literally becomes more slippery. The friction is decreased. It has been found that the PTFE with a load, slip slide load of 8 pounds per square inch, that the coefficient of friction is 0.04. But with up to 3,000 pounds per square inch, the slip slide pressure is reduced 3 times down to 0.01. Friends, that is amazing. And that is the world of True Rand engine treatment.